grass of weed, brambles of bush to herd the sheep clouds and cleanse the stars and ride the boys. Said boys, each on his own skinny mount, were deluged with beatings and cuffings of flail and wood. They were punished severely for occupying heaven. They took 100 bruises each, a dozen cuts, and precisely 49 lumps on their tender skulls. "Hey, I got a bloody nose!" gasped Tom, happily, looking at the red on his fingers. "Shucks!" cried Pipkin, going into a cloud dry and coming out wet. "That's nothing. I got one eye shut, one ear bad, and lost a tooth." "Pipkin," called Tom, "don't keep telling us to meet you and then we don't know where. Where?" "In the air," said Pipkin. "Cheese," muttered Henry Hank. "There's 2,100,000,099,000,000 acres of air wrapped around the world. Which half-acre does Pip mean?" "I mean—" gasped Pipkin, but a whole bindle of broomsticks banged up in an akimbo dance like a shuttle of cornstalks across his flight, or a farmland fence suddenly come antic and in frenzies. A cloud with a grand fiend face gaped its mouth. It swallowed Pipkin, broom and all, then shut its vapors tight and rumbled with Pipkin indigestion. "Kick your way out, Pipkin! Stomp him in the stomach!" someone suggested. But nothing kicked, and the cloud, satisfied, sailed on forever's bay toward eternity's dawn, ruminating over its delicious, sweet boy dinner. "Meet him in the air," Tom snorted. "Good grief, talk about horrible directions to nowhere." "See even more horrible directions," said Mound Shroud, sailing by on a broom that looked like a wet and angry cat on the end of a mop. "Would you see witches, boys? Hags, crones, conjure wives, magicians, black magics, demons, devils? There they be, in mobs, in riots, boys. Skin your eyeballs." And there below, all across Europe, through France and Germany and Spain, on the night roads were indeed clusters and mobs and parades of strange sinners running north, scrambling away from the southern sea. "That's it. Jump, run, this way to the night, this way to the dark." Mound Shroud swooped low, shouting over the mobs like a general leading a fine, evil troop. "Quick, hide, lie low, wait a few centuries." "Hide out from what?" wondered Tom. "Here come the Christians!" yelled voices below on the roads, and that was the answer. Tom blinked and soared and watched, and from all the roads the mobs ran to stand alone on farms, or at crossroads, in harvest fields, in towns. Old men, old women, toothless and raving, yelling to the sky as the brooms swept down. "Why," said Henry Hank, stunned, "those are witches." "Dry clean my soul and hang it out to dry if you're not right, boy," agreed Mound Shroud. "There are witches jumping fires," said J.J. "And witches stirring cauldrons," said Tom. "And witches drawing symbols in farmyard dust," said Ralph. "Are they real? I mean, I always thought—" "Real?" Mound Shroud, insulted, almost fell from his bramblecat broom. "Ye little gods and fishes, lad, every town has its resident witch. Every town hides some old Greek pagan priest, some Roman worshipper of tiny gods who ran up the roads, hid in culverts, sank in caves to escape the Christians. In every tiny village, boy, in every scrubby farm the old religions hide out. You saw the Druids cut and chopped, eh? They hid from the Romans, and now the Romans, who fed Christians to lions, run themselves to hide, so all the little lollygagging cults, all flavors and types, scramble to survive. See how they run, boys." And it was true. Fires burned all over Europe. At every crossroad and by every haystack, dark forms jumped in cats across flames. Cauldrons bubbled. Old hags cursed. Dogs frolicked red-hot coals. "Witches, witches everywhere," said Tom, amazed. "I never knew there were so many." "Mobs and multitudes, Tom. Europe was flooded to the dikes. Witches underfoot, under bed, in the cellars and high attics." oh boy, said Henry Hank, proud in his witch costume. Real witches. Could they talk to the dead? No, said Mound Shroud. Jump up devils? No. Keep demons in door hinges and squeal them out at midnight? No. Ride broomsticks? Nope. Put sneezing spells on people? Sorry. Kill folks by sticking pins in dolls? No. Well, heck, what could they do? Nothing. Nothing? Cried all the boys, affronted. Oh, they thought they could, boys. Mound Shroud led the team down on their brooms over the farms where witches dropped frogs in cauldrons and stomped toads and snuffed mummy dust and cavorted in cackles. But stop and think. What does the word witch truly mean? Why, said Tom, and was stymied. Wits, said Mound Shroud. Intelligence, that's all it means. Knowledge. So any man or woman with half a brain and with inclinations toward learning had his wits about him, eh? And so anyone too smart who didn't watch out was called a witch, said everyone. And some of the smart ones, the ones with wits, pretended at magic or dreamed themselves with ghosts and dead shufflers and ambling mummies, and if enemies dropped dead by coincidence, they took credit for it. They liked to believe they had power, but they had none, boys, none. Sad and sorry, 'tis true. But listen, there beyond the hill, that's where the brooms come from. That's where they go. The boys listened and heard. The broom works makes, the broom that looms, on sky in gloom and rising of the moon, that broom which, groom to which, flies high on harvestings of storm-wind grass, with shriek and sigh to motion it, in ocean seas of cloud, now soft, now loud. Below, at full tilt, a witch-broom factory was filled with commotions, poles being cut and bound with broom brushes which, no sooner tied, took off up chimneys in flights of spark. On rooftops, hags leaped on to ride the stars, or so it seemed, as the boys watched and voices sang, Did witches feel the night wind in their bed, and reel and dance with devils and the dead? No, but that is what they bragged and claimed and said, until whole continents, hell-bent, named witches of the innocent, and did conspire to burn old women, babes, and virgins in a fire. Mobs raved through villages and farms with torches, cursing. Bonfires flared from the English Channel to the Mediterranean shore. Through all of Germany and France, 10,000 so-called evil witches hung to kick their final antic dance. No village but shared a dread uproar, as each side named the other for a devil's pig, old Satan's sow the demons maddened bore. Wild pigs, with witches glued to their backs, trotted roof tiles, flinting sparks, snorting steams. All Europe was a cloud of witches' smoke, their judges often bound and burnt with them for what? A joke, until all men are spoiled with guilt, all sin, all lie, so what to do? Why, everyone must die. Smoke churned the sky. At every crossroads, witches hung. Crows gathered in a feathered darkness. The boys hung from their brooms in the sky, eyes popped, mouths wide. "Anyone want to be a witch?" asked Mound Shroud at last. Said Henry Hank, shivering in his witch's rags. "Not me." "No fun, eh, boy?" "No fun." The brooms flew them off through chars and smokes. They landed on an empty street in an open place, in Paris. Their brooms fell over, dead. Chapter 15. "Well now, boys, what should we do to scare the scarers, frighten the frighteners, shiver the shiverers?" called Mound Shroud inside a cloud. "What's bigger than demons and witches?"
Bigger gods? Bigger witches? Bigger churches?
Guessed Tom Skelton. "Bless you, Tom, right. An idea gets big, yes? A religion gets big. How? With buildings large enough to cast shadows across an entire land. Build buildings you can see for 100 miles. Build one so tall and famous it has a hunchback in it ringing bells. So now, boys, help me build it brick by brick, flying buttress by flying buttress. Let's build—"
"Notre Dame!"
shouted 8 boys. "And all the more reason to build Notre Dame because," said Mound Shroud, "listen." Bong! A bell tolled in the sky. Bong! "Help!" whispered a voice when the sound had died. Bong! The boys looked and saw a kind of scaffolding reared up in half a belfry keep upon the moon. At the very top hung a huge bronze bell that was tolling now, and from inside that bell, with every crash and bang and gong, this small voice shouted, "Help!" The boys looked at Mound Shroud. Their eyes blazed a question. "Pipkin?" "Meet me in the air," thought Tom. And there he is! There, hung upside down over Paris, his head for a knocker, was Pipkin in a bell, or the shadow, ghost, or lost spirit of Pipkin anyway, which is to say there was a bell, and when it sounded the hour, why, that sound was made by a flesh-and-blood clapper which knocked the rim. Pipkin's head banged the bell. Bong! And again, bong!
"Knock his brains out!"
gasped Henry Hank. "Help!" called Pipkin, a shadow in the bell, a ghost chained upside down to strike the quarters and the hours. "Fly!" cried the boys to their brooms, but their brooms lay dead on the Paris stones. No life in them, mourned Mound Shroud. Juice, sap, and fire all gone. Well, now. He rubbed his chin to sparks. How do we get up to help Pipkin with no brooms?
"You fly, Mr. Mound Shroud?"
"Ah, no, that's not the ticket. You must save him, always and forever, again and again, this night, until one grand salvation. Wait. Ah, inspiration. We were going to build Notre Dame, correct? Well then, let us by all means build it, there, and climb our way up to hard-skulled, knock the bell, sound the hour Pipkin. Up it, lads, climb those stairs."
"What stairs?"
"These, here, and here." Bricks fell in place. The boys leaped, and as they put a foot up, out, and down, a stair came under it, one stone at a time. "Bong," said the bell. "Help," said Pipkin. Feet galloping empty air came down to tap, rustle, clomp on. A step, another step, and yet another and another, climbing empty space. "Help," said Pipkin. Bong. Again went the hollow bell. So they ran on emptiness, with Mound Shroud prodding, shoving after. They ran on pure windy light, only to have bricks and stones and mortar shuffle like cards, deal themselves solid, take form beneath their toes and heels. It was like racing up through a cake that built itself layer on stone layer, and the wild bell and sad Pipkin shouting and pleading them on.
"Our shadow! There it is!"
said Tom, and indeed the shadow of this cathedral, this splendid Notre Dame, was tossed by